I had went through a little time in my life where I was like, God, how can you really love me? How? I don't understand how you can truly love me. And I would take walks by myself, and I would pray, and I would talk, and I would say, how, God? How do you love me? How do you really love me? And I would feel the Lord. At that moment, I'll be honest with you, I really didn't feel anything at that moment. But I knew here, and that's why we can't go by emotions, by feeling. I knew here, and I would tell myself, now you know that's about ridiculous. Because God is not a liar. And if His word says He loves me, He loves me. But I still could not feel what I wanted to feel. And I kept questioning God about it. Nobody else. Just question God. And I'd take these walks and I'd say, God, I just want to feel you closer. When all along, Sister Evers, all along, it was probably me that had backed up. You know, it's because God, He's the same. And I want to feel that well, maybe He was taking me to the next level in Him. And wouldn't you know, God answered my prayer and gave me cancer. That's how He works sometimes, isn't it? The thing you think would be the worst thing that could happen to you was the best thing that did. And I literally felt the hand of God in mine. And I will never forget that experience in all my life. And I felt His love. And that was 3 years ago. And I will tell you to this day, He's never left me. I have felt Him. I feel as though He has scooped me up and put me right here and held on tight, and I'm still there. He's never let me go. That's how I feel. I feel like He just scooped me up and He's held on to me so tight that there's times you just feel Him so strong you can't even hardly breathe. Well, then my husband falls off the roof, head first, that is. And he will tell you God turned him around. Because if what happened to his heel of his foot would have happened to his head, no doubt he'd be dead. Then my dad, ruptured appendix. I mean, it already ruptured. Now E. coli. Now this. Now, and you're thinking, oh my word, really? Isn't that something how God can show you His power? When we are weak, He is strong. He is strong. And we feel that strength. So I'm going through this right now. It wasn't something a year ago, 6 months, what cancer was, but a year ago or 6 months ago or you know. And I was telling some of the ladies this morning, sometimes we live through something. You'll live through something, and then you'll look back on it 6 years, 10 years, and you'll tell of it, and it has become your testimony, something that you tell. But how often do we go through something where we know that going through it right now, I am living my testimony at this present moment? A lot of times you go through something and then you tell it later, and it's so easy to tell it because you're past it. You know, you tell of your it becomes your testimony that's already happened. But when you can joy in it as you're going through it, that's a true gift from God. It's a true gift, all right? Joy in the trial. Joy and trials are almost always coupled together. Almost always. Joy and sorrow goes together like yeast and bread. 2 Corinthians 8:2 says, how that in a great trial of affliction, the abundance of their joy and their deep poverty abounded unto the riches of their liberality. This is one way somebody put this. For in the heavy trial which has proved their steadfastness, the fullness of their joy has overflowed out of the depth of their poverty in the richness of their liberality. And this is another. How tried though they were by many a trouble, their overflowing happiness and even their deep poverty resulted in a flood of generosity. Here's another. The troubles they have been through have tried them hard, yet in this they have been so exuberantly happy that from the depths of their poverty they have shown themselves lavishly open-handed. We got a joy in our trial. Trials can be endured because of joy, because of the joy that is promised for those who are faithful in good times and the bad. Jesus endured the trial, or the trial for the joy that was set before him, Hebrews 12:2. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. Because of the joy he knew he would follow, he knew would follow his suffering. All right? Who in consideration of the joy lying before him. Jesus is our example of endurance during a trial. Look to his example for encouragement so that we do not faint. Hebrews 12:3. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest he be weary and faint in your minds. We are commanded to joy in our trials. Okay, so you mean that not only do I have to go through a trial, but then I also have to have joy in it? Are you kidding me? Really? Really? And I told one of the ladies this morning was talking about going through something and just not understanding. And I said, you know what? There's not one thing wrong with asking God, questioning God about it. He doesn't mind you to question him, ask him, why, Lord? Now, we don't get disrespectful. We don't get ugly with God. You know, we don't accuse and blame. But there's nothing wrong. He knows we're flesh. We're dirt. He knows we're nothing. He knows that we don't understand. His ways are higher than our ways. He knows the beginning and the end. He knows our future. He knows what's ahead. He knew what was going to happen before it happened. All right? And he'll use it for our good. He will use it for our good. James 1:2 says, my brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into divers temptations. Reckon it nothing but joy. You must find the greatest joy. Why? Knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. Trials are to make us patient. Don't pray for patience. You'll get it. You're probably going to get it whether you pray for it or not, because it's what you need. It's what you need. It develops endurance. It produces steadfastness. Why is patience so important? Why? Luke 21:19. In your patience possess ye your souls. Eternity is determined by your patience. By your endurance you will gain your lives. It is by your endurance that you will secure possession of your soul. Patience is the state or power of being patient. To be patient means the following: bearing or enduring pains or trials without complaint. Without complaint. Without complaint. Okay. Exercising forbearance under provocation. Long-suffering. Provocation is an action or speech that makes someone annoyed or angry. You should remain calm at all times. Oh, Lord, help us. Expectant with calmness and without discontent. Undisturbed by obstacles, delays, failures, and persevering. Easier said than done, right? Easier said than done. But it can be done. It can be done. He'll never ask of you what he doesn't give you to endure it. All right? He's not. He's going to, if he puts you in something, he's going to give you what you need. All right? Learn to wait. Who likes waiting in a waiting room? I've had my share of it. You know, it's like, what are they doing in there? You know, what's taking so long? Nobody likes to wait. Learn to wait. Life's hardest lesson. Coned perchance through blinding tears while the echo throbs sadly. While the heart throbs sadly echo to the tread of passing years. Learn to wait. Hope's slow fruition. Faint not, though the way seems long, there is joy in each condition. Hearts through suffering may grow strong. Thus a soul untouched by sorrow aims not at a higher state. Joy seeks not a brighter morrow. Only sad hearts learn to wait. We are commanded not only to joy in our trial, but also to rejoice with joy unspeakable and exceeding glad. So now not only do I have to have joy, but then I got to rejoice in it. It'll get somewhere, I promise. 1 Peter 1 and 6 through 7. Wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold temptations, that the trial of your faith, being much more precious than that of gold, that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ. Even if now, for a short time, you are compelled to sorrow amid various trials, these things happen in order that the testing of your faith, being much more precious than that of gold, which perishes. How about that? 1 Peter 1 and 8. Whom having not seen ye love, in whom though now ye see him not, yet believing, ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory. It's all in this book. It's everywhere. If you're going through something, it does not give you a license to sulk. It doesn't. It does not. You got to remember who's in control. And you got to remember who's in charge. It does not give you the right to sulk. Can you ask God? Certainly. Can you go to God and cry? Absolutely. Can you cry? I would say that's part of, you know, when something tickles you a little bit, what do? You laugh. It's just part of who we are. And something disappoints you, what are we going to do? We're going to probably cry. That's how we're made that way. You know, those tears were made for something. And sometimes a good cry helps. Sometimes if you get a good cry, get it over with, it'll help. But nothing will help you like a victory dance. Nothing will help you like a shout of praise to God. I'm a witness. Nothing will help you like that. You want to cry? That's fine. Go home, cry in your pillow till you fall asleep if that'll make you feel better. And it might. It might. But you don't let that be the only thing you do. Don't let that be a way of defeat for you. You are to lift your voice. You are to give praise. You ought to give a little dance every now and then. You ought to just, I'll tell you one other thing you ought to do, and I've got Bible for it. Come to me, I'll show it to you. Go sow some seed in your tears. When you're weeping and things are coming at you full force, what you do is you sow some seed outside of this building. You go out there and you sow some seed. You make a phone call. You invite somebody to lunch. You get on your knees and pray for somebody else. All right? 1 Peter 4 and 12 through 13 says, Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. But rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. I like this right here. This author is unknown, but it says, there can be no rainbow unless it is raining. So we cannot see the brightness, the brightest glory of God's grace without entering into the experience of trial. All right? It's got to rain for there to be a rainbow. And I've got to go through trial to see God's grace and love for me. to see His power. All right? To see His strength, I've got to be weak. All right? Matthew 5:11 says, "Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my name's sake." Verse 12, "Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven." Rejoice is an extraordinary manner. Go beyond and rejoice in an extreme way during a trial. In an extreme way. So if you're going through a trial, I say you rejoice more than you did prior to it. And in extreme ways, all right? Rejoice elaborately or more than average during a trial. All right? So I'm going through something. All right? That's the time for me to lift my voice a little louder, me to dance a little higher, and me to believe a little stronger. All right? Believe in it. 2 Corinthians 7:4, "I am exceeding joyful in all tribulation. I am full of encouragement. Nay, I cannot contain my happiness in the midst of all these trials of mine." Ronald Knox said that. "In all our many troubles, my cup is full of consolation and overflows with joy." You might as well see the good in it. You might as well. We are all capable of feeling sorry for ourselves, but it takes guts to find the joy in a trial. It takes guts. It really does. We should glory in the things that distress us so that the power of God may rest upon us. It is normal to grumble in a difficult time, to complain about trials and hardships. If a Christian rejoices in hard times, then they become a testimony of greater power inside them to the person who does not know the Lord. And this is part of what I'm saying about growing a church, building a church. I'm not talking, and I'm going to get into that later down the road, but I'm not talking about the structure up here. I'm not talking about when we get out there and we break ground and we buy the equipment and they're building up walls. I'm not talking, that's a structure. We are the church. We are the church. That's a church building. We'll meet there to get fed, to have unity with one another, fellowship with one another. But I'm the church. You're the church. It's us. And if I'm going to be able to, before we even step foot on that new property, if I can express anything to you, it's that if you'll enter into life and into things in your life with joy and peace and long-suffering and all of those things, you'll allow God. You don't get bitter with God. You don't get angry with God. You allow God to, okay, I'm going through a trial, but let me find the joy in it. Let me find the peace in it. Let me seek God's face. Then when I am going through something, I can be a better witness to somebody else that doesn't know the Lord. All right? They're going to see that in me, and they're going to want that. They're going to see something different. I'm going to be strong enough that I can help to build that church because of the attitude that I have. All right? We're not going anywhere, Satan. You cannot defeat us. I'm here to stay. Okay, with that kind of attitude, you can move mountains. You can do so many things. But people are going to be walking in here, and they want to walk in a church with strong people. They want to walk in a church where people don't just give up at the drop of a hat. I'm done. I'm through. I'm out of here. No, I'm firm. I'm stable. I'm not going anywhere, Satan. I'm not going anywhere. And I appreciate your hand claps, and I don't mean this in an ugly way. I appreciate that. But whether it's there or whether it's not, it's the truth. It is the truth. It really is. It's the truth. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to stay. And everybody should have that attitude. I'm here to stay as a child of God. Not necessarily in this building. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm here to stay as a child of God. I am a child of God, and I'm not going anywhere. I will endure until the end. I will endure. I am strong. I am a strong person, and I will endure. Those are the things that needs to come out of our mouth. Those are the types of things. Satan, I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here. You cannot touch me. There's nothing you can do to me that God doesn't allow you. And if he allows you, then I wanted it done anyhow. Because I want the will of God. I want the will of God. Paul testified of this. He was not boasting, but rather he was stating a fact. He had learned that when he was weak and had no power over a situation, that was when God proved himself strong on his behalf. His trials and hardships were seedbeds for greater things. I have amazed myself, the strength that I now have is unreal. It is unreal to me, the strength that I possess now because of the things that I've gone through. 2 Corinthians 12:9. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. 10. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. We seem to lean on him more in those weak times. Do you agree? We seem to lean more on him when we're weak. Maybe that's the point. Maybe God is saying, if you're weak, you come to me more. If there's a sickness that approaches your body, that's when you'll begin to pray. When there's a financial struggle, that's when you begin to move. That's when you begin to pray. That's when, so you know what? Maybe that's God's way of saying, I need you on your knees. I need you where you need to be. You need to be on your knees. Sometimes when things are going hunky-dory and they're just all great and grand and terrific, we just start thinking it's all us. You know, I could pray, but things are going actually really pretty good. So, you know, I'm not going to disturb the waters. I'm not going, I'm not going to, No. If things are going really good in your life, then give God praise. If things are going really bad in your life, then give God praise. But either way, God deserves that praise. And buddy, I'd be storing up some of that. Because we're going to need it later down the road. You will go through a trial. You will. You will go through a trial. Learn to smile in the trial. That should be a little slogan if we had a little thing out there. Learn to smile in the trial. Enter into the trial with joy. Listen to this. It's easy to laugh when the skies are blue and the sun is shining bright. Yes, easy to laugh when your friends are true and there's happiness in sight. But when hope has fled and skies are gray and the friends of the past have turned away, then indeed it's a hero's feat to conquer and smile in the face of defeat. It's easy to laugh when the storm is over and your ship is safe in port. Yes, easy to laugh when you're on the shore, secure from tempest sport. But when wild waves wash over the storm-swept deck and your gallant ship is battered and wrecked, that is the time when it's well worthwhile to look in the face of defeat with a smile. Ooh. It's easy to laugh when the battle's fought and you know that the victory's won. Yes, easy to laugh when the prize is sought. The prize you sought is yours when the race is run. But here's to the man who can laugh when the blast of adversity blows. He will conquer at last. For the hardest man in the world to beat is the man who can laugh in the face of defeat. Who can laugh in the face of defeat? I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. You've got to give God praise. You've got to give him praise. You've got to. Amid the drudgery and hardship of life, keep that truth in mind and it will clear the fogs away and leave you in sunshine. You are on the road home and the way is sometimes dark and dreary. But when we get there, we shall see that every experience of earth was intended to fit us for the higher joys of heaven. This is not our home. We are just passing through. This is not our home. So don't start thinking, man, it's just hard down here. Well, good. You know what? Just think about what you've got to look forward to. Just think on those things of what you got. This is not our home. We're just passing through. Isaiah 40:31. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. You have wings. Use them. You do. Use them. Use them. God is He's moving. It blows my mind the things that He is wanting to do, the way He is wanting to use us before we even step foot on that new property. Yeah. All right? What He's wanting to do through us. A lot of people are guilty of asking God, why me, Lord? And like I said, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with questioning God. Whatever's happened in your life, there's not. God, why? I just, can you give me a why, a reason why? There's nothing wrong. But I wonder why we don't ask Him, why me, Lord, when something really good happens to us. You know, you think about it. A lot of people will say, why me, Lord? Why me? When something bad happens. But when something good happens, they just accept it and move on and as if they deserved it. We've all been guilty of that. Why me, Lord, when something good happens? Why? I certainly don't deserve it. My husband's grandma said, I'm no better than anybody else. I'm just as good, but I'm no better. So why don't we look at it like that? I'm no better than anybody else. Just as good, but I'm no better. So if it comes my way, I'm no better than you. If it comes your way, you're no better than me. But you might need something I don't need at the moment. I might be going through something for a reason that you don't have to go through at that moment. All right? But we should ask, why me, Lord? I didn't deserve the Holy Ghost. I didn't deserve my family that I have. I don't deserve good health in my body. I don't. So why me, Lord? Why'd you give me all this? Why? Why are you so good to this church, God? Why are you so good to me? I wonder sometimes if we'll question God on those things. And then thank Him that He is in spite of the fact that I don't deserve it. Perception is important. Your thoughts will color your trial. How about that? Think healthful, happy, cheerful, youthful thoughts. Dean Dutton said, every cell is stamped by your thought life. Think of hopes that lie before you, not the waste that lies behind. Think of treasures you have gathered, not the ones you failed to find. Think of service you may render, not of serving self alone. Think of happiness of others, and in all this, you'll find your own. All right, Proverbs 23:7. For as he thinketh in his heart, so he is. Some people can't look or act happy because they're not. They're not. They can't. And you've heard the saying, misery loves company. Misery loves company. You're around somebody that's not happy, they'll bring you down. I wouldn't hang. Misery loves company. I'd get myself with happy people. Pastor is always trying to encourage us to pray. I'm going through something. Pray. Oh, that's a cop-out, you know. He don't know what else to say. I don't. We don't. Pastor don't. I don't. Pray. That's all I know to tell you. Pray. Pray. Have joy. Have joy in your heart. Have joy, praise to the Lord, because there's going to be some things that come into your life. There's going to be some things that come into my life. There's going to be some things that we don't like, but we've got to give God our praise. Some people love drama in their life. They do. Do you know that we've had people admit it to us? Oh, yeah, Pastor. Sister Dotson, I do. I don't know what to do without it. Are you kidding? No, I'm serious. I have to have some type of drama going. I don't know how to function without it. It blows my mind. I'm seeking peace and all of that. It blows my mind. They want drama. They have literally looked at us and said, I thrive. I live by it. It's what keeps me going. Wow. The way you see things will determine the outcome. When Elisha and his servant were at Dothan, and the servant rose early for a morning walk, when he went outside, he began to look around. He discovered that the whole city was surrounded by horses and chariots. He perceived that the enemy had come to take Elisha, his master. The servant ran back inside and said, "Alas, my master, how shall we do? How shall we do? They lacked protection. They lacked favor from the enemy. And it looked like they were about to become prisoners. But they did not lack God." Elisha answered, "Fear not, not that they were with us, not that they be with us, or more than they that be with them." What did Elisha do when he was in the midst of lack? He prayed. He prayed. 2 Corinthians 6:17 says, "And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see." Did the Lord come through? Because the rest of the verse says, "And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountains was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. The servant then saw they were there all the time, but his fear of lack of things kept him from seeing." He had a fear, and he lacked seeing what he should have seen because he was so fearful. But through prayer, he was able to see. All right? He was able to see, and he saw help. He saw help. When you keep your eyes, where you keep your eyes will determine the outcome. All right? When the children of Moab, Ammon, and the Ammonites came against Jehoshaphat to the battle, he became afraid. What did he do when he lacked strength to fight against such a large army? What did he do? He sought to seek the Lord, proclaimed a fast throughout all Judah. Why? To ask help of the Lord. All right? That's what he did, to ask help of the Lord. A portion of his prayer was like this, guys. "O Lord God of our fathers, art not thou God in heaven? And rulest not thou over all the kingdoms of the heathen? And in thine hand is there not power and might, so that none is able to withstand thee? Are not thou our God, who didst drive out the inhabitants of the land before thy people Israel, and gavest it to the seed of Abraham, thy friend, forever? We stand before this house and in thy presence, and cry unto thee in our affliction. Then thou wilt hear and help. O our God, wilt thou not judge them? For we have no might against this great company that cometh against us, neither know we what to do. But our eyes are upon thee." Notice how he ended the prayer. "Neither know we what to do, but our eyes are upon thee." We must keep our eyes upon God during time of lack. If you lack something, you've got to keep your eyes upon God. God did not let them down. He did not. We got to keep our eyes placed where they need to be. Listen to this. Correction, the correct use of our eyes right here. A bishop of the early church, who was a remarkable example of the virtue of contentment, was asked this secret. The old man replied what his secret was. "He consists in nothing more than making a right use of my eyes. In whatever state I am, I first of all look up to heaven and remember that my principal business is here to get there." The principal business here is to get there. "Then I look down upon the earth and call to mind how small a place I shall occupy in it when I die and I am buried. I then look around in the world and observe what multitudes there are who are in the many respects. I then look around in the world and observe what multitudes there are who are in many respects more unhappy than myself." So many people. "Thus I learn where true happiness is placed, where all of our cares must end, and what little reason I have to complain. It is important to joy in God." Psalms 9:2. "I will be glad and rejoice in thee. I will sing praise to thy name, O thou most high. When everything is gone, that is the time to joy in the Lord." When everything is gone, that is the time. Cancer showed me that the love of God had for me. When my husband fell, God showed me that he's not done with him yet. keep on keeping on. And when my dad got sick, God showed me that prayer works. All of which built. We're building a church. Built my faith. All right? Built. There's that word again. Built. That built my faith. All right? When we put God first in our lives, believe in Him, trust in Him, we can do anything. Don't let fear, stress, depression overrule you. Fear can paralyze you. And I have a story about that. Years ago, I had stepped outside, not living where we are now, living in a different house, and I had stepped outside and you could see the road. And I had just stepped outside of my house, and my dog was there, and I was looking down at her, and I heard brakes. And I looked up, and when I did, I saw a car. It had hit the ditch, and then end to end, not side to side, end to end, that car began to flip end to end. And I'm watching it. And then it stopped right on its wheels, on its tires. It just stopped. And I didn't know what to do. I had never seen anything like that. So I screamed at my husband, who was still in the house. And he came out, and I said, "Honey, that car just wrecked. It just flipped." And I mean, he didn't miss a lick. I mean, he was straight toward it, running straight toward it. Well, I got a little closer, is all I could do. I was calling 911, and I was trying to get closer, but my husband went around the car, and the lady had fell out of the car when it was flipping. She had fell out of it. And so she was partly under the car, and half of her was under the car and half of her was not under the car. And he saw her take one of her last breaths. And it was, and he said, "Dear God." Well, trying to decide what I need to do, started to go to get her, thinking maybe I can help her, when the car caught on fire. I'm standing there in fear, paralyzed. I literally cannot move. I can't help her. The car's on fire, she's underneath it, and I can't, and ashamed to say, I couldn't move. You always wonder, what would you do in a situation like that? I think I could help somebody if they really needed me. And maybe I can now, I don't know. But at that moment, I couldn't. Of course, some people stopped, and of course, one man knew her, and he screamed her name as he's running from the road. And one of them was a nurse, and they stopped, and they grabbed her, and they took her over to the side. And my husband's trying to get the fire out, and ambulance still aren't there. And it just seemed like it was such a horrible experience in my life. I thought, I'll never be the same again. I will never be the same again. But I'm going to tell you that she didn't make it. And it had no fault of my own. Getting her out or not getting her out, she didn't make it. But I always remember that fear that had swept over me. She happened to be Brother Casey Barrett that goes to our church. It was his aunt. I didn't know it at the time, but it was his aunt. And every time I see a Ford Focus, I said, I'll never purchase a Ford Focus. It wasn't the Ford Focus fault, but something about it, I just can't. And it just absolutely, fear struck me, and it paralyzed me. It's a real thing. Fear can paralyze you. It can make you not move. Stress can kill you, and depression can limit you. That is why it is so very important for us spiritually to not let fear paralyze us, because then you cannot do what needs to be done. You can't. You can't let stress, it'll kill you. Don't get stressful. Give it to God. And depression will limit you. You can't function. You can't go about your daily things if you're depressed. Has anybody ever you don't have to raise your hands, but if anybody's ever suffered from depression, it's a real thing. It really is. Find joy in the trial. It will give you strength to make it through. And I'm gonna end on a more positive, funny thing. When we was on the way, they took Pastor from Union General to Gainesville the first time. And on the way there, of course, I'll tell on Heath a little bit. Heath doesn't cry. He just doesn't. He is just it bothered me when he would pray and not cry. And I remember going to Sister Tony one time, and I said, he just don't cry. And she said, don't you worry about that. She said, I've watched your kids. He's good. She said, I don't cry. And she said, it always bothered me I didn't cry because I'm a pastor's wife. And she said, people would come to me about a need, and I'd be praying, and she said there were no tears, and I felt like they thought I wasn't really concerned when I really was. But she said, I just don't cry. And she said, some people just don't cry. And Heath is one of those people. He just doesn't cry. But, I could beat him. And he just sitting there, whenever you're done, Mom, he just doesn't cry. But when his dad fell off the roof, he cried. And I'm telling him, he's probably dying, but he cried, and he cried hard. That was his best friend. And he said, it should have been me, Mom. It should have been me. It should have been me. I should have been out there with them. He just stepped into his room for a little bit, was going to go right back out there. Had been out there, was going to go right back out there. He said, it should have been me, Mom. It should have been me. And he cried. So, dealing with all of that, we get in, they take them to Gainesville, and Sean and he and I get in the car heading to Gainesville. And Heath, I always told y'all he was my joy. Heath has always been my joy. He's always made us laugh. So if you've ever heard him do his Forrest Gump, he can do the voice like Forrest Gump. And so we're in the car, and all of a sudden he said, Daddy fell off a ladder on a Monday. And then he said, there was people coming and going. He said, they say there's some type of hairline fracture down there. I don't know how that hair got there, but that's all I got to say about it. We were giggling in the car on the way to the hospital. Just that he found joy. He found some joy and some laughter in the midst of it. And, you'd have to be there to really hear him do it good. But we were actually laughing at him. It was really funny. Find joy in the midst of your trial. Find laughter in the midst of your trial. You'll have strength there. The joy of the Lord is our strength. And if you can find joy in your trial, you'll find strength. You'll have the strength that you need. He's so good to us. And I really felt led to tell you all that. Let's don't approach life. Don't let life take over you. You take over life. You take over it. You have joy. Sister Carrie told me the other day, she said, I didn't know how I was going to pay some of my bills. She said, but I just began to go into my house, and I turned some music on. And she said, I went through my house rejoicing. She said, the next day or two, the money was given to me to pay my bills. I'm going to tell you something. God is watching us. He's seeing how we're going to respond to things. He's watching. He's going to see how we're going to respond. And I don't know about you, but I want to make them very proud of me. I want to respond in the right, correct way. And when I start to build this church, when I'm building this church right here, I want to build it full of love and peace and joy and laughter, so that I can be a light to the lost and to the hungry.
Hey, thanks for checking out this latest message. We want to inspire and encourage you to be everything that God would have for you to be. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button now. You'll be connected to all of our latest videos. Thank you so much.